Hey everybody, how's it going? So for those of you who I might not have met yet, my name is Alex, and I am going to be your grade 9 math teacher from now until the end of January. So yeah, if I haven't met you yet, hi, and I hope to see you guys in class at some point before the end of January. But if you're learning at home, that's perfectly okay as well. I hope that you guys are staying safe and that you and your family, everything's okay. But yeah, so I am going to be starting with a new topic. I'm not too sure exactly what you guys have learned up until this point. But the topic that I'm going to be starting today is called powers and exponents. So just to begin here, I just thought that we could start with a little bit of mental math. It's going to load. There we go. Okay, so if you have a piece of paper with you, I just have these 5 simple questions. So 2 times 2, negative 3 times negative 3, 2 times negative 3, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and negative 4 times negative 3 times negative 2 times negative 1. So I encourage you to pause the video here and try them on your own, and then we'll take a look at the answers in a sec. Alright, so there are the answers. So 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 3 times negative 3 equals positive 9. 2 times negative 3 equals negative 6. This whole lovely thing equals 32. And this whole thing here equals 24. So if you didn't get those answers, that's okay. We're going to be doing a lot of multiplication over these next few weeks, and a lot of it is going to involve using a calculator. So yeah, don't feel discouraged if you didn't get the correct answers. So I just wanted to go over the rules of multiplication. This is something that might have been covered, might not have been covered before. But all this table says is when you multiply 2 positive numbers, you get a positive answer. When you multiply a positive with a negative, you get a negative answer. When you multiply a negative with a positive, you get a negative answer. And when you multiply 2 negative numbers, you get a positive answer. So it's just an important thing to keep in mind if you're ever like doing some quick multiplication for whatever reason. I don't know. But definitely a good thing to remember. So what is multiplication? And I just wrote here as an example, what does 2 times 5 mean besides that it equals 10? So just take a moment to think about that. And yeah, if you want to pause and think about it, or just keep watching, I'll give you my answer. Multiplication is just a faster way of adding a bunch of the same number together. So for example, 2 times 5 means that we're just adding the number 2 5 times, like over and over again. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 times 5, and 2 times 5 is a lot faster to do on your calculator. We can do the same thing talking about multiplication. So like there was that 4 of the mental math, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and there's actually a faster way that we can do that using something called powers. So what is a power exactly? Well, first of all, we can write 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 as 2 with this 5 in the top right corner. So there's always a big number, and then in the top right there's a little number. So what does that mean? Well, 2 is called the base. That's the number that we're multiplying over and over and over and over again. 5 is called the exponent. So that is how many times we're multiplying that number over and over and over again. And then the whole thing is called a power. And the way that we would say this is 2 to the power of 5. You might also see 2 to the 5th power, or simply 2 to the 5th. And I'm just going to exit the slideshow here for a sec. And I'm just going to go to the note package. And you will see this on page 54. So I'm just going to zoom in here. Oops. There we go. So page 54 is where we are going to be starting our notes. All right, so everything that I'm going to do from this point is going to be following the notes on page 54. So I'm just going to go back to the slideshow here. Alrighty. So this is another table that you saw in your notes on page 54. So when we have just, when we have just a singular number, that is 2 to the power of 1. So if this number was like 15, then you could write it as 15 to the power of 1. And you can see that that is how we say it. 2 times 2 is 2 to the power of 2, or 2 squared. So anything to the power of 2, we can say it as squared. We're going to be talking about that probably in another unit, so don't worry too much about that right now. Same thing with 2 times 2 times 2 is 2 to the power of 3, because we're multiplying the number 2 3 times. And we can also say that as 2 cubed, and again, we're going to talk about that in another unit. And then this one here, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, is 2 to the power of 4, because we're multiplying the number 2 4 times. So, just going to run through a couple of the examples that are in the notes. The first one was 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So we're multiplying the number 4 6 times. So we can write that as 4 to the power of 6. So 4 with a 6 in the top right corner. And then there was another example, which was the number 3. But basically I just made this as a general slide. We can write any singular number as a power. So like 2, we can write it as 2 to the power of 1. We can also write 3 as 3 to the power of 1. 4 can be 4 to the power of 1. 1 million can be 1 million to the power of 1. Like, we can do it with any number, but we would never do that because math people want to write as little as possible. If we wanted to write more, we'd probably be like English people or social studies people. I don't know. But math people, we like to be pretty lazy. Alright, so I think that this was on page 55. We're just going to work through these check questions together. So the first one, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We want to ask ourselves, how many 2's are we multiplying together? Well, if we actually count them, there are 6 2's, so we can write that as 2 to the power of 6. So you can make sure to fill this in your notes. For the next one, there was 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So how many 5's are we multiplying? Well, there are 4 of them. So it is 5 to the power of 4. Right. So at this point, I'll ask you to just pause the video, try to work on these on your own. Yeah, and then I'll go over the solutions after you give them a shot. So negative 10 times negative 10 times negative 10. There are 3 of them, so we write that as negative 10 to the power of 3. And make sure when you see the brackets to write the brackets in your answer as well. The next one was just 4 times 4. There's 2 of them, so that's 4 to the power of 2. And then this one, you really had to count them out, but there are 8 negative 7's, so the answer is negative 7 to the power of 8. Alright, so then there was this table. I'm not sure if it was on page 50. I think this was still on page 55. Yeah, so we're just going to fill it in, doing the exact same thing. So 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, we ask ourselves, how many 8's are there? There are 4 of them, so it is 8 to the power of 4. 7 times 7, there are 2 7's, so that would be 7 to the power of 2. or 7 squared, either way. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, blah, 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 blah. There are 6 of them there, so that is just 3 to the power of 6. And then the last one, there are 3 2's, so that is just 2 to the power of 3, or 2 cubed. And again, don't worry about the cubed right now or the squared. It's just some technical language that we're going to be using later, but yeah, don't worry about that too much right now. Alright, so there's one more thing that we're just going to talk about in this video, and it is standard form. And standard form is just the answer to the repeated multiplication, or basically your answer to like when you do the actual math. But here's just a few examples. So 2 to the power of 5 is just 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 32. 2 to the power of 4 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. And 5 to the power of 3 is 5 times 5 times 5, which equals 125. So I think in another video, I'm going to show you how to actually punch this into your calculator so that you can get these standard form answers. But yeah, so I'll leave that for another video. Then the last thing is just this table here, which I believe is on the top of page 56. So 2 to the power of 3 is just 2 times 2 times 2. 6 squared equals 36. So again, I'll get you to pause the video here and write the repeated multiplication into your notes, and then the answer as well. Alright, so you should have gotten these answers here. So 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 6 to the power of 2 means we're multiplying the number 6 2 times, so it's just 6 times 6. 3 to the power of 4 means we're multiplying the number 3 4 times, so 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 10 to the power of 4 is just 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 8 squared, so remember squared is to the power of 2, so that's just 8 times 8. And then 7 cubed is just 7 times 7 times 7. Remember, cubed means we're doing it 3 times. Yeah, and then you get 343 when you punch that into your calculator. So, if anybody has any questions about any of this, you can send me an email through the Google Classroom. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this lesson, just a brief introduction. One thing that I will encourage you to do is to do the practice questions here. So page 57, number 1, A and B, number 2, A, B, C, and then on the next page, page 58, try number 3. If you have any problems with those, then like I said, send me an email or like a message of some sort. One thing that I'll say too is that the things that I will be marking will be part of the check questions, so the ones that we did together, and then some of the practice questions as well. But yeah, message me anytime. It's really nice to be able to meet you, even though I guess I haven't really met you in person yet. But yeah, have a good day everyone, and good luck. Thanks.